Okay, good morning, my dear students. So in the last part of module number 4, we will talk about bar chart illustrations. So we will use this to visualize kung paano dinadagdagan or binabawasan ng external force, the work done by the external force, yung mechanical energy ng isang object, or kung paano tinatransform ng isang internal force that's doing the work, yung kinetic energy to potential energy, or vice versa, using bar charts. Okay? So just to remind you again, this is our formula. So before, we were only using, diba? Considering rather the gravitational potential energy in calculations. Now, in the bar chart, there will be situations in which springs are present. That means na meron ding spring potential energy that will be involved. Okay? Okay. So this is the formula that you should use if external force is present, and then this one if internal force is present. Okay. Okay. Let's see. So take a look at this one below. Ganito yung dapat maging itsura ng kalalabasan ng iyong bar chart illustrations. So meron kang dalawang bar chart. One for the left side equation, which is the initial position or the initial energy plus work. And then dito sa right side, kung what's the energy of the object noong nandun na siya sa kanyang final position. So let's take a look how we arrive at this one. So ang problem natin, merong isang ball, nasa taas siya ng parang isang tower or isang platform. So obviously, nakapatong siya doon, mataas siya, that means na meron siyang gravitational force, di ba? And then, KE would be absent, sabi dito, kasi it's at rest, di ba? And then wala namang spring, so let's not consider spring gravitational force. Spring potential energy, rather. So we can see na nung nahulog yung object, it's due to gravity. Gravitational force is an internal force. That means no work is done by external force. So magiging 0 yung W sub EXT. And then in the final position niya is just about or just before it hit the ground. So di ba habang mabagsak siya, free falling object will increase in speed. Pero lumilit din yung height niya relative to the ground. Kasi bumababa na siya, di ba? That means na while the KE is increasing due to the increase in speed, PE is decreasing. Kumbaga, PE is getting transformed to KE. Okay? But the sum is again the same. And again, no spring is present. So, that's 0. So, yun yung first mong gagawin. Alamin mo yung forces. So, dito nakita mo gravitational force. Kasi, when you found out that only internal forces are present, so, syempre, mag-i-equal yung initial and final mechanical energy mo, diba? And then, the work done by external force will be 0. And then, try to see if kung present ito, kung may external force, try to see if it is doing positive or negative work. Later on, you will see how you will illustrate that, yung external force, and then construct a bar chart. Okay, let's talk about the bar chart. So, you have an axis here, di ba? Apat yung ilalagay mo dito sa left side. For the kinetic energy, bar chart for the kinetic energy, for the potential, gravitational potential energy, for the spring potential energy, and for the external force, work done by the external force. And then, you have a 0 here. Kasi there's a time that there are cases when you will have negative work, di ba? Kapag negative work, di pa ganito yung bar chart mo. Di ba? Pababa. Now, let's focus here on the problem. So, nung una, yung bola ay nasa taas, di ba? So, of course, meron siyang gravitational potential energy. Nakastop siya, so wala kang bar chart for KE. Gravity is doing the work, so wala kang bar chart for that. No spring, so wala kang bar chart for that. So, yan yung energy niya na nasa initial position siya, which is nasa tuktok ng platform. Now, the final position is considered just before it hit the ground. That means nag-accumulate, nag-transform na yung PE to KE. So, 0 na yung PEG mo kasi nasa 0 height position ka na, then there's no spring. So, wala kang bar chart doon. Ang goal mo palagi ay mapag-equal mo yung height, yung overall height. Okay? Kasi di ba kailangan mag-equal yung this side of the equation with this side of the equation. So dito, arbitrary lang to, no? What I mean is, yung height niya ay 5 units, di ba? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 unit ang height niya. That means, because the mechanical energy is conserved, dapat makakita din ako ng 5 unit height doon. Yun nga lang, na-transform na siya into KE. Kaya yung chart na dun sa ilalim ng label na KE, kinetic energy. I can just put 3 units here. That will be okay. This one, 3 units. Basta magkapantay sila sa dulo. Okay? Okay, let's summarize that. There's no kinetic and elastic potential energy in the initial state. And then, walang gravitational and elastic potential energy in the final state. That's why you can only see this one. There's no work done by external forces, again, because gravitational force. The sum of the heights of on the right equals the sum of the heights on the left. Laging ganun, okay? Okay, skidding car. So at first, gumagalaw yung skidding car mo, but you're pressing the brakes such that ang final position niya, nakatigil na siya. Okay? So nasa ground, nasa zero height position siya, horizontal. That means na wala kang zero ang height mo, so walang potential energy. The car is moving at the initial position, initial state niya yon. Of course, there will be KE. And then, nag-stop na siya sa dulo. So, walang velocity, speed. Zero din yung KE mo. And the final, zero na yung KE mo. There's no spring, so dapat zero ka doon. Ano yung nagpahinto sa car? Friction. Did the work. So, kung papunta doon yung displacement, this is the frictional force. So, negative. After understanding those, lalagay mo na siya sa chart. Okay? So, nag-compose ka na ng chart for the left-hand side and right-hand side equation. So, nakita mo dito, again, arbitrary lang na hanggang 5 units yung taas niya. Yung KE mo ay ganyan. Nung initial energy niya is in the form of kinetic energy. This is the work done by friction, negative work. Again, 5 unit height. So, positive 5 minus positive height and then negative 5 unit, that will result to a zero final energy, diba? It is the friction, the work done by the friction that allowed the car to stop. So, hindi gumagalaw, walang spring, and then nasa zero height position. That's why you will have 0 joules for the final energy. Notice that the sum of the heights on the right is equal to the sum of the heights on the left. 0 dito, 0 din doon. Okay. Skier again. So, the skier is at point A, highest peak. That means mataas yung kanyang PE doon, di ba? There's no spring naman. KE is absent, nakatigil pa siya. Kailangan niyang gamitin yung poles niya, di ba? Di ba may tangang poles yung mga skier to propel themselves forward. If you do that, that will be applied force. So, there's an external force present. Dire-diretso pababa, sumalida hanggang marating yung summit B, which is the final position. KE is still present, di ba, in this one. PE is also present in this one. Kasi elevated height, there are no springs. Remember, KE is still present there. Kung mabilis yung salida niya doon, pwede pa nga siyang di ba? Magkaroon ng trajectory like that. Okay, how do we illustrate that? Initial energy niya is pure potential energy kasi hindi siya gumagalaw doon. There are no springs. And then, the work done by the poles on the skier is positive kasi pinropel niya forward, di ba? So, what's the sum of the heights? So, this is 5 and then 2, that will be 7. And then, here, okay, inassume natin na mas mataas yung KE. And then, of course, meron ding PE, di ba? Kasi elevated height pa rin naman yung summit B. But the important thing here is, ang sum ng heights ay 7 din. Okay, so you have no problem. Okay, this is another way to do, this is a different kind of bar chart. O roller coaster naman to. So, may points A, B, C, D, and E. Ganyan yung itsura ng rails ng roller coaster. Then, merong pinapakita na KE, PE, and total mechanical energy at each point dito sa baba. Notice that, sagad lagi. or constant palagi yung total mechanical energy on all cases. And on the first one, dahil hindi pa gumagalaw yung roller coaster, di ba? Nasa tuktok pa lang siya. Hindi pa binabagsak nung machine. PE is highest at that point. That's the highest point, di ba, nung roller coaster ride. So, bababa siya. There's a loop. B is the second highest point. So, you would assume that mataas pa rin yung PE niya doon. Although, sumalida siya from A to B. Medyo naubos yung ano niya, di ba? Yung kinetic energy niya going up the loop. So, ganito lang yan. But notice that this one, if you add this here, will be equal to the total mechanical energy. Letter C, medyo baba na yung loop, yung height mo, di ba? Yung summit C. So, they made the PE lower. But, the roller coaster is much, has higher kinetic energy on that part. Again, if the red one, you add here on the blue one, you'll get the same total mechanical energy as B and C. Sa point D, zero height position. So, sagad yung KE. PE is 0. And then, point E, sobrang baba lang ng height, diba? So, there's a little potential energy and the rest is kinetic energy. Let's solve some problems. So, a ball is dropped from rest from a bridge. As the ball falls through the air, it encounters a small amount of air resistance. The final state of the air is the instant before it strikes the ground. Okay. So, here, meron kang gravitational force. KE, you don't have. By the way, this is the initial position or initial state, final position, just before hitting the water. KE mo, wala. Kasi it's at rest. Wala kang elastic potential energy. As it is going down, the PE is getting converted to KE, di ba? So, meron na siya. Meanwhile, virtually na-reach na yung di ba? Zero height position. That means, zero na yung PE mo doon. And then, there are no springs again. Who's doing work? Or which force is doing work? Gravitational force. On the ball, that means external force, wala. So, zero ang work done. So, okay, let me do, this is the zero mark. Okay, let's label. So, KE, and then PEG, PES, work done by the external force, KE, PEG, PES. This is for the initial energy plus work done by the external force is equal to the final energy. So, at point A, that's gravitational force. Or the object has potential energy. But walang KE and the rest. And then, on the final position, all of the PE is now converted to KE. Notice na 3 units equal in height. A volleyball player spikes the ball at just above net level and drives it over the net. The initial state of the ball is just prior or before the spike. The final state of the ball is the instant before it strikes the ground. Okay. So remember, when you spike, diba, tatapon mo yung, or itataas mo yung bola from sa air, and then spike mo siya. That means na gumagalaw yun. And naka-elevate siya. Diba? This is A to B. Naka-elevate siya sa ground. So, check. I mean, there are no springs. Meron ka din external force done by the hand, which is applied force. Now, the final state is before it strikes the ground, which is virtually, doon na siya sa zero height position. Okay? So, PEG will be, PES is wala. And of course, mabilis siya on that part. So, KE, meron. Okay, let's do the graph. By the way, the work is positive, no? The applied force is in the same direction as the displacement. So, KE, PEG, PES. Okay. KE, PEG, PES. Okay. 3 units lang ako para konti lang yung lines sa drawing ko. Okay. Now, we have, diba? We have kinetic energy. And then we also have potential energy on the initial position. Okay. Let's say that, okay. So we have, let's say, 1 unit of work done by the external force, applied force from your hand. And then another unit for the gravitational energy. Why do I say gravitational energy? Potential energy due to gravity. And then let's say kinetic energy. Sige, sabihin natin mas mataas. The ball is moving fast. Mababa lang naman yung height, diba? In order for the spiker to be able to still hit it. And then now you have 2 and 1 and 1, that's 4 units. That path, ganun din siya on the right. Now on the right, lahat yon ay matatransform to kinetic energy. So that's 4 units. Okay? Okay. A spring gun is used to project a sponge dart into the air at an angle to the horizontal. Okay. So let's say this is your dart gun. This is your dart pala, sponge dart. And then that's the spring of the gun at an angle daw, diba? The gun is held at a height of 1 meter before the trigger is pulled. That means meron ka nun. Kasi 1 meter from the ground. Meron ka din ito, syempre. Spring force will do the work. And then, do you have a KE? No. Before the trigger is pulled, that means there's still no movement yung sponge dart. The loaded spring gun is the initial state, and the sponge dart at its peak is the final state. Sobrang taas. Check. Wala na namang spring dito, di ba? But you know that it's moving here at the height, at the peak. Okay, let's do the chart. So KE okay. So, dito muna tayo sa initial state. So, wala akong chart dito sa ilalim nito. Here, meron. Let's say 1 unit. 1 meter to the ground, from the ground. Malaki yung spring, natin. Elastic potential energy kasi, di ba? Siya yung magpapropel sa gun. Sa dart, rather. And then, I have no work done with external force, di ba? Kasi yung spring yung nagtrabaho dito. That's an internal force. Now, I have here 3 and 1, so 4 units of height. Doon sa maximum height, that means nasa mataas na lugar siya, di ba? So, let's say 2 units. Now, that would also mean Okay, let's not say mag-equal yung ano niya, K and P niya. Kasi nasa maximum height. So see, you also have to be doing that sorts of decisions. Let's say 3 units of gravitational potential energy due to gravity and 1 unit of kinetic energy. Okay? So that's how you will do the bar charts for this bar chart for this type of situation. Okay? I hope you understand that. I'll see you next time.